Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Live here on SABC News. Of course, we continue this beautiful discussion that we're having this morning on Heritage Month. Really, the theme being a call to all South Africans to celebrate the living human treasures, our living legends, especially for their contributions and preserving what South Africa has, like the members of the panel have already indicated. I said that now after the break, we come to the questions that you have here on the floor. Can we get the microphone to table number 5, please? Where Romeo is seated. All right. In the meantime, Minister, while we get the microphone to table number 5, I just, Babumsomi raised a very important issue to me earlier, just before we came on air, saying that the history that is taught at school, yakdala, Jan van Riebeeck reached the Cape in 1852. It's not telling us South African stories, which actually brings me to my next question. Your collaboration or cooperation with the Department of Basic Education, maybe, do we still have arts and culture represented somewhere? Lama subject
Well, what Babumsomi said is quite critical, because a typical South African would know more about your European history than African history. They will tell you about Napoleon Bonaparte, Hitler, and so on. But ask about Jomo Kenyatta. Ask about Kwame Nkrumah, for instance. South Africans won't know. And it's not their fault. It's the system we inherited. And I can tell you now that with the Department of Basic Education, we have engaged on this matter. There is a study, a survey which is being done by the department, because we believe, that's in culture, that you need to have history as a compulsory subject. History taught for South Africans about their own continent, because if you don't, then people don't know themselves. You see, South Africans have this thing, because of the history where we come from, that they think that they are not part of Africa. Somebody visit elsewhere, and I said this last time, go to Nigeria and said, last week I went to Africa. It tells you the mindset that he went to Africa, he has to go to Africa, he's somewhere else. He's not in Africa. But that is part of the narrative which has to be changed by educating our people about who we are. And I'm very confident that we are going to make a breakthrough with the basic education about our own history as Africans.
All right. Do we now have the microphone to table number 5?
Long live the spirit of Mandoza, long live.
Long live.
Long live the spirit of Mandoza, long live.
Long live.
My name is Romeo Ramwad. I'm the president of South African Arts and Culture Youth Forum. Mr. Minister and your panel, let us tell you as young people, we are here today. We are saying we are celebrating our culture and heritage, wearing very fancy clothing and cultural clothing, but we are celebrating that culture and heritage at Hilton Hotel. What are you saying to us? Because we're saying that if we are celebrating the culture, we need to be able to celebrate the culture at the relevant places. Because at the end of the day, our culture and heritage is in those remote areas which are being neglected. We are talking about the issues of funding. Let's not blanket issues because we are seeing the minister. We must be very clear. You are saying to us, we must go look for funding overseas. How can we leave our country? We say we are celebrating Heritage Month. So we're saying as young people, we also went yesterday to Alexandra. The youth of Alexandra have got a theater there called Olive Oil Theater. And that theater is being neglected just because it's in Alexandra. We've got a lot of capitalist theater here in town, Pretoria and Johannesburg. But what we're saying is that, Mr. Minister, let's be very clear on the issues of culture and heritage. Because we understand the Americans already, they've actually capitalized us. We speak of the issue of culture and heritage, but the same politicians who keep calling order in parliament, they stay in estate agencies which are named after America and London. So what are we saying as a country? We're saying as the country, as young people, we must be able to talk to our leaders to say that we need the real issues to be discussed. Because culture, our culture, myself I'm Venda, but I've always been living 30% VAT and 70% American. The same man, Mr. Minister, you are talking about, who brought 90% local content, today is being attacked. Today is being called name and nobody's saying anything. That is why us as South African Arts and Culture Youth Forum was saying, hands off, hands off, hands off, hands off. We are going to call on the member of the community because we are saying that Mutsuneng is one of our own. And those who've got an energy to actually destroy Mutsuneng, they will have to go through us. We are not going to be apologetic to anyone because Mutsuneng is the only man in this country who has bring back our culture heritage.
Romeo,
because today our radio.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Minister, you can speak about him and you are right. Today our radios are playing our culture and heritage. So we're saying that we're going to march to the office of the DA and we're going to march to the Constitutional Court. We're going to march to the SABC as well to say this is the man that we need. We don't need cowards to be running the institution of the people. We need people who are voting.
Thank you so much, Romeo. Unfortunately, we've got to move on.
The creative state of this country is
Romeo, we've got to move on, my brother.
NVM is funding white people. There's a lot of black young filmmakers who want funding. They're given less money. White companies, they get the majority of the money. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Romeo. Thank you very much. Minister?
Well, he has said what he said, and some of the things we know, starting with Mendoza, just to say that the legacy of those who came before the current generation of youth continues. Government is going to be able to fund and finance programs to this level. That's why I started by saying that, with the corporate world, there are people in that world, not many of them, who are coming to the party, who are appreciating arts, culture, and heritage, and who are lending their hand. Just 2 days ago, were with BASA Awards, and some of the corporate institutions are coming on board, as it were. But I think that talking about the real issues is what they would expect from everybody. And the actual celebration, this is not about celebration, this is a talk show. The celebration is in Khalishiwe, of King Khalishiwe, on the 24th. And that's not Sandton, because we take a very conscious decision that when we engage with people, let's go to where people are. The activities which are engaged in by the living legends here, they go down there to the townships. They go to the villages and engage. Just that you guys are not always there. TV is not always there. And people think that only because you shoot from this side, everything about heritage, about culture is happening only in Sandton. There's a lot of work South Africans are doing in their own initiative, which has brought pride to our society. And we would want that voice, as Romeo was talking, we would want a critical voice all the time to point to the direction on things which need to be done, on what has not been covered. At the same time, appreciate what is being done, because a lot is being done by people themselves, assisted by government, and assisting themselves.
All right. Table number 8, where Malebu is seated.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to take to task talking about artists. I'm one of the people that sold my soul and left to the arts because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to make a living. And if I look at history, artists and art played a huge role in relaying a message to society. And I think it would play a very, very big role in teaching history, looking at publishing, dancing, acting, poetry, etc. But now the fear that I have is that when my brother says he wants to study art, I tell him, I get scared because I'm thinking, how are you going to survive? And I feel that the state is not doing enough to make sure that when artists go to school and study, that there's something stable for them when they get out of school. It's enough that we say that they must work hard and South Africans are lazy. I don't think artists and South Africans are lazy. If you look at Instagram, you will see how South Africans are marketing themselves. If you go on Twitter, you will see how South Africans are marketing themselves. If you go to the small theatre, if you go to in Rhodes, the Grahamstown Art Festival, you will see, if you go to the fringe productions, you will see how many South Africans are really talented. But I'm really afraid that the state does not really understand how to push the agenda of art. At the moment, we have what we call the art festival that's going around the country, but not a lot of people know about it. Recently, I went to the Women's Writers Symposium. You look at the attendance. Nobody knows about these things. I'm just not sure that the state knows how to drive art as a means to drive society. So I'm posing the question to our minister today. Why do you think that society does not attend all these things that are happening around the country? And why do you think that South Africans, when they study art, when they get out of school, they cannot find stable jobs, they cannot find ways to sustain themselves? Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, my Labour Minister.
Well, you would know that the art and art production depends on the people you are packaging that for. We have many artists. I can tell you we have many musicians, but is their product selling to people? Because it's not about the state. Always, I don't know what exactly is expected of the state, because the state has to create conducive environment for art to thrive. But the ability of yourself making it doesn't depend on anybody else. It depends on the choice of the people there. As I was saying, that with this 90% content, not everybody is going to be listening to everything. People are going to reject some of the things, some of the products you come up with. Others are going to be accepted. So the state will continue to, right now, we are finalizing the white paper on arts, culture, and heritage. And we have called on all South Africans to make a contribution. How do you think the state should contribute? If the issue is about the state becoming a nanny state, then it's a wrong one. A developmental state which has to create environment for people to thrive. Thabo here, if it was not him and his producer, Mandla, you take them to the world stage, people will just look at this thing and say there's nothing here. And there's nothing the state can do there, because it has created those environments. For youth, we are talking about Edinburgh and so on. We expose our youth to those platforms, all of them. And how they perform there is entirely, totally, absolutely upon them to thrive or not to thrive. Others will make it, others will make a miss in arts. And let's not create a situation that government has to fund all artists in the country.
So they must also take it upon themselves to make sure that they're outstanding. Absolutely. That's what you mean. Datem Sami?
Yeah, just to add, I think it's important that we continue to listen to the voices that are crying. We have to find ways to bridge that gap, because if you don't do that, people will make their own decisions because you have not explained exactly what it is. When you see some of the things that are happening in this country, it's because we have not listened. So the young people, we have to listen to what they are saying, and I understand what the minister is saying, but the young people also are so talented that they can raise their own funding, in this country or anywhere. So I think as living legends, we would like to hear more or spend more time with all the young creatives so that we can also show or tell the minister that this is what the living legends are doing in terms of growing talent in our country.
All right, Lebo. Napo, would you like to add on that?
Well, I wanted to say that the business side of arts, it's one of the biggest challenges for artists that we go to drama schools. We open, theater groups within our community. And we become poster faces as opposed to people who literally can control and produce and really have the sense of owning what is ours. The fact that there's Olive Tree Theatre in Alexander, it attests as well to the responsibilities of us as young people. There's also Platform 4. And funny enough, these are young black female theatre makers, which is another issue of the space needs to open, the industry needs to open itself, not just to celebrate culture in the essence of our kings and chiefs, but to say that we've got queens, we've got princesses, we've got people who lived and walked this space who are amazing feminists. And to see the likes of Mthethwa, Princess Mohlongo, Waruna, and myself really, really pushing the theatre industry, it says that we understand that we no longer will be poster faces, but that we will take charge and control the industry.
But how easy is the road for you?
It is challenging.
Yeah.
It is challenging because, if everybody says, oh, this industry is hard, beyond being hard in terms of race and gender, the essence of being a black woman in this country is a challenging one, and it comes from way back in history. And I feel, and I also feel in that also the spirit of sisterhood. We need to hold each other's hands. You've got your Kanyos. We need to affirm each other. We need to understand that, we need not, when Nsieng is doing a show or when Kanyo is performing, we don't go and buy a ticket, or when Sis Nozipo is doing a community group and is calling me to come and give back to my community, that I'm like, no, I'm on TV. Because culture and arts, it's beyond being a celebrity. It's a call. For some of us, it's a call. It's something that you would do, whether you like it or not. It's a curse and it's a blessing. And more than anything, that even when we become celebrities and we are out there, we are on TV, that we need to remember to go back home. Because that's where your audience is. I write in Sesotho, I write in multiple languages, knowing that my audience is the very same community that I reflect and represent. And when I go out into the world and the world celebrates me, I know that I'm coming with the fire of force, because where I come from, I'm affirmed, I'm loved. By the time money comes on my terms, because I know who I am.
Yes. Thabo, I see you nodding.
Well, it's such an interesting thing you guys are asking. I'm in this position that you're in. I have a film coming out now, but truth be told, when I was told to come in a suit, I couldn't afford a suit. That's just the reality of my life. But I'm going to show you the reflection of what happens in South Africa. I do a lot of international, my catalog is mostly international work. I don't say that with pride. It's sad that I do it, and I'll tell you why. I have a rate for my international work, and then when I do local work, they ask, what's your South African rate? Mm-hmm. I perform the same level, the same quality of work, I do the same thing, but I'm asked, what's my South African rate? Why am I being demeaned because I'm South African? Why am my rate lower? Why is my talent valued less? So I would like government to come in there. I'd like government to come in to protect us in owning our arts. Yes. There's no reason we should be in films and not own profit share. There's no reason why musicians shouldn't own their music till the dead. And if shows are repeating on whatever show they are, those artists who have been there since the 70s or the 90s should be getting paid for that. That is their livelihood, that is their faces, that is their talent that is being used as a tool to market them. Another place where I'd hope government can come in, we have state-owned enterprises like the SABC. I've never seen, I've barely seen a South African movie have a trailer on SABC. The truth of the matter is most production companies can't afford the advertising space. Why is it not donated by the government, by those people, to those movies, to those films, to those theater companies, to those galleries? You know how much great artists we have. Mm-hmm. These young artists who've taken these containers and created a whole gallery there. I would love to see an ad for that on SABC, 1, 2, 3, or anything like that. And that is free. That is given to that artist for free advertising. I'd love the government to get involved in that. Can we ask the government to pay every artist? No, that's ridiculous. But they can help us in protecting our unions. We have great crew that are working in these international productions but are giving peanuts compared to what these guys are actually getting. You know, Universal will give this company, let's say it's Moon and Stars, whatever, 20 million to shoot whatever it is in this country. But those same South African companies will say, no, but we can do this for 5 million and keep this 50. A South African actor shouldn't be getting that much. A South African driver shouldn't be getting that much. That's crazy. I'd like the government to come in and get involved legally with legislation to protect those artists and make sure we get what's owed to us.
Absolutely.
Would you like to add more on that?
No. I'm saying
You're just agreeing with it.
It's quite correct.
Yeah.
Actually, with the content, the local content, it's just part of the broader transformation project of the entire industry. You still have to deal with the royalties, the intellectual property, which is touching on. And as we speak now, it's with the public conversation from the side of DTI, responsible or custodians of the intellectual property, precisely because South Africans have to own their own product and be able to get royalties through their own product, and see how creative you'd be, including using your own national broadcaster. It's a challenge, and I'm sure that all these things packaged together would be able to make people realize that the playing field is now leveled. It's not leveled, and it's true that it's not leveled. Where government has to come in, this is the area, and we acknowledge that, and this is what at the moment is still being busy implemented.
All right, that's the discussion that we're having this morning here on Morning Live. We're talking the Heritage Month, which is actually a call to South Africans to actually celebrate their living human treasures as well, the living legends, for their contribution in preserving and promoting our cultural heritage. Do become part of the discussion at Morning Live SABC, #TNA Bizbris. We're taking a break now. Morning Live continues.